Hi Gargi, how are you?
Hello, sir. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too, thank you. So can you tell me something about yourself?
Yeah, sir. So my name is Gadi Shukla. I hail from Gwalior, Madhya Pradesh, where I have done my schooling plus graduation. I have completed my graduation in 2021. Then after that, I joined Global Logic as a test engineer, where I have did the manual testing and the API one. And after that, I just be the part of the Scrums meeting and I just be the part in the text execution, test scenarios, test planning, and the report analysis meeting. Uh, thank you. That's it.
Okay. Now let's consider a scenario. So let
Mm.
me share my screen. Let's consider this scenario that you are testing a large scale application. So your application has various screens. It is not a small scale application which is having like 4 or 5 screens. So it's a large scale application, and you get frequently updates in that. So maybe at times you get some enhancement request, at times you get some change request from the client. You are responsible for taking care of the regression testing. So how will you ensure that your regression suite remains effective and efficient?
So firstly, I will just automate my previous test cases. So whether whatever changes is coming in the application, so I can just execute my regression suite. So the so I can easily test my previous features that can't my like whatever the changes are there. So for that particular changes my previous functionality didn't affect, so I just go for the regression suite and I just executed to check whether my previous functionality are working or not. And after that, if something is adding new or some updates are there, then I will just create the test cases, and after that I just automate that in a regression suite.
Mm, Correct, correct. See, what you can add a couple of points here is, let's say you have a regression suite. So it is having, let's say, X number of test cases right now or scenarios. Now your release is done. Let's take an example of version. We can take 11.1 was the version that was released. And at the end of this release, you had this many X number of test cases and scenario. Now you have got some updates. So what are those updates? So those will be coming in the form of user story from the customer. So those updates you will get. What you have to do is you have to identify important test scenarios from that ticket, from that user story or from that ticket, and you will incorporate in your regression suite. So let's say few of the tickets or few of the user stories announcements came, and earlier you had X number of test scenarios. Or let's consider you had earlier 1000 plus test scenarios. So if new stories are coming, so new test scenarios would be there. So then
Yeah.
again, those will be getting added. So maybe you added 50 more. So then your count became 1050. So that's how your regression suite will become effective because it is taking care of the new updated stories as well,
Yeah.
new updated enhancements as well.
Yeah.
How will you make it as efficient? Now that's the question. So in order to make it efficient, in order to make sure that you are able to get that ROI, so what you can do is you can automate few of the scenarios from that. You can run the automation. Maybe you have CI/CD. You can use Jenkins for triggering those test cases. And it might happen that out of 1050, not all of them may be automated at the first go. But let's say even if 20%, 40%, you make a start, and then those test cases are automated, and then those would be running up and running. You can deploy it at the night time itself. So that's how you can use particular these kind of regression suits for your testing purpose.
Okay, so
Okay, this is one of the aspects. Apart from this, let me show you few other things as well. Okay, so see, let me share my screen. See, so one thing is you have automated regression test. Second thing is you can also modularize test. You can break down the regression suite into smaller modular test cases that can run independently. Let's consider a scenario. There are times when you got an enhancement or in the payments module only. So you will be performing regression suite around payments module and the module which are integrated with that payments. You won't be touching the other modules. So that's why it is very important that you break down those particular test cases. You prioritize those particular test cases. You prioritize in the order of high, medium, low.
Okay.
Continuous integration, CI/CD, we discussed. Updating the test cases, we discussed. Maintaining test data. Yes, test data, you have to keep it up to date. It should not happen that the client is testing with, for example, it's an email address field and they are testing with the email addresses that contains alphanumeric characters, but still you are testing with just alphabetic characters. So that's not relevant, right? Updating test regularly, monitoring test results. Yes, so every time whenever the test case will be running, you can monitor them. You can use parallel execution as well, right? So these are all
Yeah.
the things that you can take care from this particular aspect.
Scenario.
Now, let me move to the next question. Okay. So, how many smoke test scenarios do you write every day? Or how many test scenarios you have in smoke suit and how many test scenarios you have in regression suit?
Sir, coming to the smoke suit, we usually write 4 to 5 test cases to check the basic features and functionality are working or not, or the build was stable or not. After that, we just move forward to do the other type of testing. And in regression suits, it's depend on the changes that are made in existing application or the website. So according to that, we wrote our regression suits.
Okay, correct. So, smoke test suit, you will be having some limited test cases, maybe 4 to 5 or
Yeah.
maybe more. But in regression suit, you might be having more and more test cases.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So now let me share my screen. This is a scenario-based question related to test case execution.
Okay.
So today is, let's say, Saturday. Uh, so, yeah, so let's consider today is Wednesday,
Yeah.
and you have a release tomorrow itself, that is Thursday. You got the build today. You got the build which was supposed to be deployed in production. You have got that build today. Okay. And it's a service-based company. The client is on leave. So the deployment can be done today. Okay. So it has been done today. You need to execute only 60, you can execute only 60% of the test cases. Okay. So as of now, you have very less time. You have received the bill today. Tomorrow you have release. So at the max, you can take care of only 60% of test case. It is not possible to complete end-to-end testing. It's not possible to complete 100% of testing. So what would be your approach in order to make sure that you have maximum coverage? So let me modify this. At least get maximum coverage, maybe up to 90% or completing 100% if that is possible, right? So as per time availability, as per resources availability, as per complexity of the application, you can execute only 60% of the test cases.
Um,
Are you getting the question?
yeah, sure.
Shall I repeat it? Do you want me to repeat it?
Like, I just got the bill today onwards,
You
right?
you got the bill today. You have a
Okay.
release tomorrow. Okay. As of now, you can execute only 60% of test cases with respect to the hours. See, you won't be working overnight as well, right? You will be working for 8 to 10 hours today. The max
Yeah.
you can stretch up to 11 hours. Maybe. But tomorrow you have a release itself. It's a deadline. You have committed to the business. You cannot delay it. So what will be your approach to get maximum coverage of, let's say, 90% or up to 100%?
Sir, in that case, I just take the help with my other test members, so we can cover more tests. Like we cover more test cases, and in that case, we just rerun the automated test cases too. for regression and the other functionality, like it will help a lot. And after that we just go for the parallel testing too in other browsers, so we can cover more test cases, or the whatever, like in what amount, whatever test cases we are executing, we make sure that or we make it more compatible, so we don't have to test in other way also. And after that mm, uh,
Correct, correct. You are going on the right direction. You're going the
okay, after that, if there was some possibility and we have to release tomorrow, then there was some conditional uh, thing also. So we go for it, like in other build, we we update it, uh, like in other version we update that particular feature, and we just told our client that these some bugs that are reported during the testing. So in other uh, version of the software, we gonna fix it.
okay. See,
Yeah.
if you get this question in a real-time interview, what you should do is there is a release tomorrow. You have got the build. Okay. So uh, you would be having some automated test coverage with you. Let's say if it is 40%, 50%. So run that automation suite in the night. Okay. Now, the remaining test cases, identify, you would have already kept those priority, high,
Yeah.
medium, low,
Low.
right? That priority you would have kept. And the one point that you mentioned that you would be uh, having a conversation with your leads or managers so that someone from the team can assist you. That's a very good point. So, as you are in a QA team, so maybe as it's a release, so developers would be available. You can also take assistance from BA. Even you have leads, you have other QA members who have got the sufficient product knowledge. You will assign them the medium test cases. If those are completed, they'll be shifting to low. And you are there, or some important core team members are there.
Yeah.
They would be taking care of the high test cases. Simple. Hmm? Now, this is the situation when everything would be going on as per expectations. Let's say this is a happy path scenario, everything is working fine, everything is being tested, and you're able to release with a green signal. But what if you are testing this high test case, one of the high test case, and you encountered a defect in that? So immediately you will have some developers who would be having some buffer, and they'll jump on this defect and they'll fix it.
Okay.
And at the same time, yeah, they'll identify the root cause and they'll get it fixed. You will again retest it. And at the same time, tomorrow when you have release and you have to go for one more deployment, or you have to go for some kind of an open-ended issue that you found some issue, but it cannot be fixed as of now. It will be taken care in the next week. So those kind of discussions you can have with the client or with the stakeholders itself,
Okay. So
and you can convey. So, sorry, yes, Gargi,
that
please go ahead.
conditional sign of what was right fit here or not?
Yeah, now coming to that as well, conditional sign off.
Yeah.
So, conditional sign off happens when you have found a defect and you have discussed with the stakeholders and the client that we can release with this particular defect as well. There will not be much of the impact. So, again, as a part of the testing team, as a part of development team. So, testers need to take responsibility. The entire team would be there, and the testers and the developers are there, the project managers are there. They'll be taking the responsibility. Yes, that with this defect, we can go for a release. Again, they are taking the responsibility, but the approval would be coming from the stakeholder side or from the business side. So they'll get an approval. Okay, that you sign off with this list of defect and let
Yeah.
us know in the release notes. You can mention as well for the customer that this particular defects are open. Those will be fixed in maybe, let's say today's version is 11.1 in the 11.1.1 version or in 11.1.2 version, right? So
Yeah.
those kind of things are done. You get an approval via email, then you can go for that conditional sign off, right? You should get that approval from the stakeholders
Stakeholders. Okay.
or client in a service-based company, right? So you can go for a conditional sign off.
Okay.
Okay, that's also fine. Okay, so this will be your approach to get maximum 90% coverage. So fine. Now let me move to the next question. So now let me share my screen. So this is a situation which you have to deal with. Okay. So let's say you are assigned to test a new technology or a feature or a functionality, right? Or a framework that you are not familiar with. So how would you
Okay.
approach this task?
Sure, firstly, I just go for the SRS documentation, and accordingly, I just go to the other team members also for knowing the application or that particular framework in detail, and after that, I'll uh, perform the exploratory testing and ad hoc testing to go familiar with the application that was assigned to me.
Okay, what else? That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. See, whenever you get this kind of question, it's a situation, it's a scenario-based question, which you might get during the managerial interview
Mhm.
or during the, let's say, in your client interview also, you might get this question if you're going for a software testing job or an interview. So what you should do is you should answer this particular thing in the form of various pointers. So here, various pointers would be there. So it's a new technology, it's a new framework, right? If it's a new functionality or it's a new feature, then you'll see if you have got some FRS, if you have got some SRS for that, if there are any requirement documents. If there are not requirement documents, okay, then what you will do is you will research. Let's consider a scenario that you are testing a feature which has been integrated with AI, for example.
Okay.
That has been integrated with AI. So you don't have any requirement document. You don't have any concrete documentation for that. So you can explore online or on the Google or the different resources how the AI things are being integrated with the features or how does that functionality overall work, right? So some kind of research can help you. That research will help you with some kind of use cases that you might get. Maybe the client might be thinking from this perspective, and then he would have or she would have suggested this kind of feature. Training, you can go through some online things that are
Yeah.
available. You can consult experts. So with respect to the companies, if it's a product-based company, you can connect with the product managers or subject matter experts are also there, right?
Okay.
This can be there. You can do some hands-on practice. You can set up some sandbox environments. So sandbox environments are ones in which you can experiment with some particular things, right?
Sandbox.
Yeah. So your main project will not get impacted. It will not happen that if you, because let's say if you integrate this with your main environment, then what would happen is ultimately it might happen that in your R&D, the main environment got impacted on which the entire team was doing testing. And that's when the team will be blocked because of your R&D. So those things should not happen, right? So you can do some hands-on practice on a dedicated environment. You can you can put an IT ticket, you can raise a request for your IT team. You need a dedicated environment, maybe for X days to complete this kind of R&D. Then identifying key areas, updating test plans. So you'll modify the test plan. So you'll have a conversation with your team leads or QA managers, and they will be taking care of those things, right? You'll apply the knowledge and then you'll design your test cases because
Okay.
now you have got the knowledge. Once you are clear, once you have the clarity, of what is the expectation from you, then what you will do is you will design your test cases accordingly. And your test cases would be in the form of low, medium, high complexity, right? Straightforward test cases, then medium, and then complex cases also, because you never know how client will be doing the test.
Yeah.
Okay, then feedback you'll get, you'll have a discussion. You can also showcase your test scenarios to the stakeholders, and you can tell them that this is how I am looking, this is how I am thinking. Are we on the same page? Are you also thinking in the same direction as we are? Because it's very important that you test in the same direction as they are going to do the testing, right?
Yeah.
Then you'll be documenting the entire learning process. Whatever learnings you have got, whatever R&D that you have done, you would be documenting it. And you'll be sharing this documentation with the entire team, because no one has to then again invest time on all these things. No one has to reinvent the wheel, right? They will refer your documentation and they'll start working on that, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you will be doing it.
Okay.
Okay, so this was about handling a new technology. If it's a new feature, so similarly with respect to it's a feature also, right? You
Yeah.
can explore how the other applications or the websites which are live have used that kind of feature. So this is what's about handling a new technology. Now,
So I have a one point,
mhm,
like whatever the framework or the application we got, and it was in existing market also, like if it was a food delivery app, so there are many food delivery apps, so we can get practice from there also.
yes. So imagine you are working in, let's say you get hired in a Zomato company, right?
Yeah.
And they are implementing one feature. So
Mm.
what you can do is there are various competitors of Zomato. So
Yeah.
there's Swiggy itself, you have Uber Eats. There
So,
are many apps which are actually competitors. So you can explore, you can do that exploratory thing. In this, what would happen is you would come to know what are the what is the significance, what is the business point of getting or of implementing that particular feature. Why the product or the stakeholders, the product owner or the stakeholders, they are looking for that particular feature, what they are going to achieve. And you would be able to get an idea as well. Right? So it's a kind of a learning curve with testing that will be coming.
okay.
Now, let's go to this website. So this is a website. It's an e-commerce based website. And
Okay.
what you have to do here is, this is a page. This is a customer account login page.
Okay.
Huh? And you are supposed to come up with the functional test scenarios, how you would be performing testing on this particular website. So you don't have to tell me the end-to-end test cases like test case, scenario, test case, expected actually. You don't have to tell. Just tell the high-level test scenarios, the functional test scenarios, which covers the positive as well as the negative test scenarios. And then we'll discuss about the non-functional test scenarios,
Okay.
right?
Uh, Firstly, sir, I just run the smoke testing to check the build was stable or not.
Okay.
And
Which
after
test
that,
scenarios? Yeah,
uh,
which are the test scenarios?
scenarios, got it, sorry.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
Okay, so so you are telling about testing, right? So we'll
Yeah.
come to that question also. Which testing you will perform and at which particular point? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Now let's focus on test scenarios, functional test
Scenarios.
scenarios and non-functional test scenarios. Within functional, you have to cover the happy path and the negative test scenarios.
Coming to the positive scenarios, uh, if I enter the valid email, so it take that particular email, and the if I enter the valid credentials in email and password, so it get login and navigates me to the home page. And after that, the negative one was I'm entering the valid email and the password, and when I click on the login button, it doesn't navigate me to the home page, or it opens other page also. And other scenario was to, like, I'm entering the valid email. I'm just telling the test cases, sorry. And another scenario was like when I'm using that Google sign off or the other social media sign off, then it may work. And the forget password and the account benefits also. Like I'm not getting too much.
No worries, no worries. So
Yeah,
whichever test scenarios you have covered, those are the few of the positive as well as negative. Now see, if you get this question in a real time interview, mm, so let's go with the positive test scenarios first.
yeah,
So you will enter valid credentials, that is the email and password, and your login should be working. Then verify this forgot your password functionality is working fine. With forgot your password, what would happen is if you click on this link, you should be able to get some security question answers that you would have used when you are setting up this account.
okay,
Those questions answers you should get. And you should be able to log in with an alphanumeric account or with a account in Gmail or Yahoo or Rediff Mail, or whichever domains it supports. Similarly, the password, it should be proper only. You should be able to verify with a password which has been kept with a mix of alphanumeric characters, with a mix of special characters, numeric plus special, alphanumeric plus special, right? So those kind
yeah,
of things you can test.
okay,
Now, if you see here, scroll down, if you scroll down and if you hover on this signed in with Google, so you can also sign in with your Google account. So that is also one of the possibility. You should be able to log in Chrome browser, in Safari browser, in Edge browser. You should be able to log in your mobile as well. Okay.
okay,
Now this is about positive. Now what about negative? Let's say if you are entering some invalid credentials, then it should not work. You should get some validation messages.
yeah,
If you clicked on forgot your password and there you are entering incorrect answers, the answers which you have not kept for your security questions, you are entering those, then your forgot your password functionality should not work, right? You are trying to log in with a Google account which is not active enough. You are trying to log in with a Google account which has crossed the limits as well, right? So those can be few of the negative scenarios.
okay.
Hmm. Okay. Now, let's go to the scenario-based thing in this. Mm,
So
okay,
what will be the non-functional scenario over here?
yes. Okay, non-functional we have to cover. Yes, sorry. So non-functional test scenarios, that is when you are trying to log in, it should not take more time to log in. There would be some specified, there
Yeah,
would be some time duration that would be specified in your user story as a part of acceptance criteria. If it is not been mentioned, then you can have a conversation with your stakeholders and you can ask them, okay, what should be the time duration here? But generally, it is like in 1 or 2 seconds, it should be able to log in. If
yeah,
it takes more time, then you can raise a defect. But you should get those things first in the form of a user story, in the form of a requirement. Okay, that this much is the time valid for the login functionality to happen. Right.
okay,
So that is non-functional. Within non-functional, you will also cover some kind of a load testing scenarios. Let's say if there are multiple members, if there are 10
yeah.
members, 20
Load
members,
stress.
they are trying to concurrent test this particular functionality, then what would happen, right? So those kind of things also you can cover in the non-functional. Now let's come to the scenario-based question in this. Hmm, okay. So imagine you were testing this particular user story in a sprint. So you
Okay,
have a sprint of 15 days. You are aware about agile methodology, right?
yeah.
So you have a sprint of 15 days. In your sprint, you are testing this particular user story and it is working fine. Now
Hmm.
what happens is you have a sprint 2 started and in that you have the create account user story. So sprint 1 had login user story, which you were able to test complete testing and you were able to give the demo to your customers. In sprint 2, you have create account user story. Okay. So now what happens is in sprint 2, when you are testing this create account user story, how will you ensure that you have create account user story? Okay, sorry. So you have this create account user story and you have the story in sprint 1. Okay. Now let's say you were testing this create account user story in sprint 2, but you got some defects in the user story of sprint 1. So how will you manage both the user stories together? Because this is a detailed story. This is a big story. This is
Yeah.
something that cannot be completed on time, but as the client is demanding, so you have to complete the testing in that sprint, right? So now you have to test both the stories because in this story also you have got some defects. So what will be your approach?
So firstly, I just complete my whatever the story I was get, I was completed first, and after that I go to the existing story where I just maintain the RTM thing where I just map the my test cases. So I'm referring to that document, and I just rerun my existing test case referring to the RTM. So by this, I can easily identify the defect in the existing user story.
So RTM is a very, very good approach, right? So that's a wonderful answer that you have given. Using requirement traceability matrix, you would come to know that how many test cases are there, right?
Yeah.
Attached to that feature. So you have, let's say, X number of test cases for this user story. You have Y number of test cases for this user story. Accordingly, you will allocate the time duration. One
Yeah.
more thing here, what you can do is you can also have a word with your test leads or test managers and keep them updated. That
Mhm.
let's say if you are my test manager or you are my test lead, I am reporting to you. So I'll tell you, Gargi, I have got two user stories together. I'm not having that much kind of a bandwidth, but I'm trying to complete it. It might happen that again the defect might get slipped, or again the I might not be able to give 100% of test coverage, get 100% of test coverage in my user story testing. So if you have any suggestions, if you have any kind of a solution for this particular problem, then please do suggest. It is always better to have a word with them. It will not only help you at the time when if something goes wrong in the future, then they'll come to know, yes, that she was already under the pressure. She was doing two tasks simultaneously, right? But at the same time, you will also get some expert advice from them in a kind of a conversation itself. You might get some assistance from them, and that's what you need,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so this was good. This is a very good point. RTM is a very good thing. Okay, so RTM is discussed. Okay, fine. Now let's go to the next question. So, okay, so now we have a question.
But
So this is a scenario now. So you have a website which is currently in production. Okay. One module of the code is being modified. Okay. Now, is it necessary to retest the whole website, or is it enough to just test the functionality associated with that module?
sir, in that case, if the one only particular module was modified, then we just test the parallel modules also. Like if it was integrated with other modules, like there are four modules in like there are four modules A, B, C, D, or A is mod. For example, A module is modified. Then we just go for the C module or the B module that was integrated with it, or the other functionality was depending on it.
Mhm. So you will not test the entire website. That's what you are telling.
Um, in that case, I just go for the regional regression testing.
Regression tests. But which scenarios will you consider in your regression test?
I just test the two modules, which are connected with the existing modules. So I just test that particular module only, not full regression testing.
Hmm.
Like I'm not supposed to do full regression testing.
Fine. So in this case, what would be your answer? See, the answer is actually
Mhm.
both. So you have to retest that particular module because that has been modified. Okay, that is
Yeah,
there. But you also need to test the other modules which are integrated, which are tightly coupled with that module. Okay.
yeah,
And here are various cases. Let's say if you have module A and module B depends on module A, and module C is a general module which is independent of module A, right?
yeah.
So first you will test module A in this scenario. Then you will test module B because module B is
Depend on module.
correct. It is integrated, right? But with respect to module C, you will not be doing end-to-end testing, but you will do a high-level testing because it should not happen that nothing is working in the module C. Okay. This is with respect to black box testing because you don't know the internal structure of the code.
Yeah,
What if you are a white box tester? You are having the access of that code. You know in and out what is the
yeah.
functionality. Sorry?
Functionality specification,
Yes,
it's
correct.
conditional.
Yeah. Then you can come to know which are the scenarios that would be getting impacted, and accordingly you can take that approach. One more
Okay.
thing here. If one of the module is getting changed or modified, then you can ask the development team what are the impacted areas. So
Yeah.
through the impacted areas, you would be able to focus on that particular area for testing rather than hitting out in the dark and then coming out after the release. Oh, that something is not working. Right? So you can go for impact. You can ask the development team, tell us the impact areas because they have changed the code and they will come to know that this particular uh, area needs to be tested because I have changed the code. Right? So that's how you can do. You can collaborate with them.
Okay.
This was good. Now let's come to this website. Hmm. So you have this website again, the same e-commerce website, and you are supposed to complete the testing by, let's say, end of this week, Friday. And you have got the build on Wednesday, but the functionalities, the basic functionality itself is not working. Then what will be your approach? You have to complete by this Friday. Again, you cannot extend it. Even if you sit on Saturday and Sunday, it's of no point because you have to deliver this in the Friday evening to the client.
Mm. Basic functionality is not working. Okay. So give me 1 minute of time to.
Yeah, yeah. Take your time to think. In a real-time interview as well, if you need some time, no, take your time to think. It's no
Yeah.
problem there.
Uh, so in that case, I just go to the developer, whether I just have a one-on-one conversation with the developer whether they modify something in the existing build or what are the changes they made and I just get the clear idea from them. After that, I just go for the software requirement specification document, and according to them, I just do the regression test. Sorry, according to it, I just do the testing. And if I already have my test cases of that particular functionality, then I rerun it and modify it according to the situation.
Hmm. Okay. So a slight change in the approach here. Yes, you have to go to the development team, right? Because basic things are not working. But what you should do is you should approach them officially. You should approach them formally. You should drop an email. You
Okay.
should drop an mail to them that this so and so functionality is not working with a high importance, and you have a deadline till Friday. And include loop in all your leads and managers also in that email, as well as their dev managers as well. Okay,
Okay.
because you will have to escalate it. Otherwise, this thing will not be taken care. You have received the build on Wednesday. You just got one Thursday in between. Friday is the thing that client would be expecting from you. So you will have to escalate this. And apart from that, in your daily stand-up call meeting or whenever you have on Wednesday morning or maybe in the Wednesday evening at the time of leaving, you can drop an email again that you were completely blocked, you were unable to test because so and so functionalities were not working. Okay, and you can highlight it in the daily stand-up call as well, in the Scrum call, wherein everyone is there, right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's how you can do. Okay. Yeah. So, Gargi, I'm done with the interview. Do you have any questions for me?
No, sir.
Yeah, it's good.